We're going to have another go at a rage quit. This time we're going to be tackling LFR. Now, before we start, let's be open and honest about looking for a raid. I'm a casual gamer these days. I can only really find time to do looking for a raid. About 6 months ago, I was a heroic raider. I was in one of the top 200 guilds in Europe. Raided most nights of the week, or maybe 4 or 5 nights a week. We weren't brilliant, but we did okay. I experienced essentially cutting edge content. I'm not trying to blow my own horn there or anything. We were okay. So I like to think I've experienced both sides of the fence. But there's a vocal minority of people that don't like looking for raid and they think it should be removed from the game. Oddly, they don't even play or have any interest in doing looking for raid themselves. They just hate it so much they think it should just be gone. I'm going to try and get my head around these people, these vocal minority. And oddly, the vocal minority, we talked about the fence in the last episode, and on one side of the fence we had, in air quotes, noobs, the people that aren't particularly good at the game. They know they're not particularly good at the game, they're just trying to have a bit of fun. And then on the other side of the fence we've got the elitist jerks who just think they're the fucking bomb, and everybody else should be like them, but they're never going to be like them because they're just much better than you. And they also think they should control how the game is made. This time it's those guys that are the vocal minority. It's those guys that want to take a part of the game away from the people on the other side of the fence. So let's try and think about what's going on with that. What is looking for raid? Looking for raid is an easy version of a raid that you can just join as a single person, and the game will try and match a group together of 24 other people and tanks and healers and DPS, and that's going to throw you in the raid. And what's normally going to happen is nobody's going to talk to each other. Everybody's probably not going to enjoy the experience. It's going to go slower, maybe you're going to wipe and people are going to get angry and rage quit and all kinds of things like that. But it's there to really fill a gap in the gaming experience for a group of people that maybe they're not in guilds, or maybe they're in guilds but they can't find 10 people who can get together on a regular basis every week and go into normal raiding, which for a lot of people is quite difficult. It's also for people who they just don't have the time or the commitment to really put into the game as much as they'd like to, but they just want to see the content. I think this is one of these things which, as you get older, it becomes more and more relevant. As you get older, you don't have the time to put into playing a video game, but you like the game, or you like the idea of the game. You want to see some more of the storyline. A great example of this is Let's Plays on YouTube. You know, a lot of people don't have time to sit down and play back to back. You know, let's say The Last of Us on PS3. A great game. Not everybody has a PS3 in that example. Not everybody is that good at survival horror games. They just want to see the storyline. They want to experience that game as much as they can, but they'd rather watch it on YouTube. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sony might argue there is, but fuck them. So looking for raid is for those guys that don't have the time. Maybe they don't have the guild, or maybe their realm is dead, you know, and they can't afford to move off of their realm into a more populous realm, and it's going to just let them see that content. The problem that the elitists have with this is, yeah, it's fine if you want to see the content, absolutely fine, no problem with that at all, but raids should be epic, and you can only get epic with difficulty, and you can only get difficulty in heroic modes. Therefore everybody has to do heroic modes to really qualify as, you know, saying that they've seen the epic side of these boss battles. And furthermore, looking for raid provides you with gear. Now, it's pretty shit gear, to be honest with you. If you are, let's say you're in the mid-tier of an expansion and you're fully geared out and you're fully upgraded, you've got best in slots or near to that, looking for raid probably it's not gonna give you a lot. You're gonna get some item level upgrades, but when you start breaking tier pieces, it's not so good. When you start talking about, you know, you've not got upgrades or you've not got Thunderforged gear, then looking for raid in the next tier is not so good. So why do they care about the fact that the noobs, again in air quotes, are getting this gear? Now, to be honest, I absolutely do not get it at all. Looking for Raid is one of these things where, you know, if the elitists didn't know it was in the game, but it was just there, and the people who couldn't do normal and heroic raiding were just doing it, there would not be a problem at all. But because they see people walking around in gear that looks a bit similar, but it's a different colour, or, you know, these guys that are obviously complete and utter noobs. Why the hell have they got purple gear? It's all about the purples. And yeah, I you know what? I do not get the elitist point of view on this one. I think it's completely selfish. It's arrogant. It is genuinely, I feel, detrimental to the community spirit of the game. Nobody should be able to say to another group of players, you can't have this type of content because I think it's too good for you. You're not good enough to get into this content. Well, you know what, elitists? No one gives a shit, really. You can be the vocal minority if you want, but every single time, Blizzard's going to shoot you down. It's not going to be removed from the game. I think Looking for Raid, not only because that's what I do now in game, because, you know, realistically I don't do it that often anyway, but I'm not thinking about this from a selfish point of view. I'm thinking about it because it legitimately adds content into the game for people that couldn't necessarily do it, and it also gives them something to aspire to. Everybody knows Looking for Raid is the lowest difficulty of that particular raiding tier. In 5.4 we're going to have 4 different difficulty levels. We're going to have Looking for Raid, Flexible Raid, Normal Raiding and Heroic Raiding. So if you're starting out at the bottom and you know that the gear that you're going to get from that, the best gear that you could possibly ever get from Looking for Raid is never going to be as good as the gear you can get from Flexi, Normal and Heroic, then that gives you something to aspire to. That gives you a leg up. That gives you, I think it makes you a bit more legitimate in the game if you can go, you know what, I can go into Looking for Raid, I can commit to that, I can get all my lucky charms every week, you know, and I can do my dailies, and I actually want to progress into Flexi or Normal Raiding, then that's brilliant, because at the minute it's going to be very difficult for you to do that this late in the expansion. Even if you're doing your dailies every day, getting that rep you're gonna be so far behind the curve. And I guess that leads us on to another thing about Looking for Raid and tiers, because in a lot of people they all reference TBC as the best. It was the best expansion. Why was it the best expansion? Well, because we had these multiple tiers of raids that you had to go from tier 1 to tier 2 to well, it wasn't tier 1, but you get my point. You had to start out at the starter raid, and then you couldn't go on to the next one until you'd done that and you'd got some decent gear. And even though you were maybe 18 months behind everybody else, that's what you had to do. There was a queue, we've done it, why shouldn't you? Well, again, it does not make sense. If I've just subscribed to the game, but I'm every bit as good a player as you, because hey, we all know gear isn't a good measure of being a good player, it's the player, not the gear, then why should I have to go through that entire laborious process? And without Looking for Raid, that's what everybody would have to do at the minute. And there's a lot of bosses, there's a lot of raids that we've had in Mr. Pandaria right now. There's a lot of content to expect people to go through in a declining game when people don't want to do that content anymore. It's just too much to ask. And Looking for Raid and the other modes that have been introduced in the past expansion or two, such as the scenarios and the way they've handled the rep in MOP. Maybe we can talk about rep grinds in another video, but I think it's all worked out pretty well. I actually quite like it, and I'd like to go back into heroic raiding, but I'm not going to do that. But I can see that if I did, Looking for Raid, getting that gear would certainly help me to do that, and I know I'm not a bad player. So, what do you think about Looking for Raid? I think it's a really hot topic for a lot of people at the minute. Like I say, people want it just stripped out of the game for the next expansion, which is clearly not going to happen. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on that though. Leave a comment in the section below. Leave a video response if you want, I'll always accept those. Thumbs up, thumbs down, I shall see you next time. Fuck, am I gonna die? Polymorphed again. Come on. Where are you going? for fuck's sake. Hey, mages need more CCs because hunters have got too many.
Again, Cyclone and Mage.
What? Now I've been fucking disarmed. Now I'm stunned. Now I'm feared. No, it's just like, it pisses me off. This is the one thing that pisses me off about fucking WoW PvP. Now I'm stunned again. Oh!
Cyclone and Mage.
Oh, he's dead.
Good. Fucking not bad. I'm gonna go prop. Because now this thing's gonna be a fucking live lord, you watch. Rooted him. I'm gonna chuck some cheeky rafts and some moonfires. Moonfire. Moonfire. Moonfire.
Mage did quite a lot of damage then.
Yeah, he's a fucking mage. Deep freeze. Woo!